Hi there, I'm Einat. I'm the product manager at Kaltura, and I'm here to talk about user interfaces, audio, which is a great interface for feedback. There's tactile interfaces. We're seeing more and more of them. Microsoft Surface, obviously the iPod. Everything that isn't graphic per se can also be an interface. I like the widest definition of interface possible. For me, interface is every kind of surface of any kind of product that actually relates to the user, somehow gives them a call for action, or is a functional surface. And I'll give you an example. Here, these pretty ugly Venetian blinds, and we have their interface. The interface is basically this kind of plastic tube over here, and there's a cord and something at the end. And we have this tube, but the tube doesn't in itself tell me what I need to do. I don't see plastic tubes that I usually have to turn left and right, and I don't know how many people actually remember which side actually moves this. Well, this won't move. The blinds down and up. The professional word for this is affordance. Affordance is basically the possible function, the possible activity that a user can is supposed to do with products. Let's say someone comes into the room and there's a chair and there's a small ball. Now, he could throw the chair and sit on the ball, but their affordances actually lead us to do different things. The ball you can grasp, the chair you can sit on. And how does this apply to digital interfaces? Pretty easily. If we look at buttons, you know, have a push me kind of, should have a push me kind of affordance to them, and that's why we see all those beveled, you know, rounded buttons. Even if it's not exactly your aesthetic, it might be the right choice for an interface because it's obvious what to do. Standards also create affordances. Colored text is a link. A big text is a header. It's kind of focus more on those digital interfaces. There aren't many rules in this game. It's a lot of common sense, a lot of experience, and basically looking at how people use your interface is the best way to see if it works or not. Asking people what they think about interfaces isn't a very good idea because mostly it's that you get skewed answers. You know, people tell you what you want to hear, but if you look at them and they kind of think out loud, you see the processes occurring in real time. It's the best way to figure out, is your interface working or not. Interfaces have really evolved over the past 10 years online, and I'd like to show you a few examples of the kind of progression. You can really learn what was considered a good interface, you know, in 2001 is horrendous today, and seeing the choices and the evolution of an interface is pretty enlightening. So, okay, here we see a really nice project called the Wayback Machine. It basically archives the web. It says so you can enter any site, see if they have an archive. I'm going to go to CNN.com and go back in time. Here we go. CNN has been archived since 2000. It's interesting to see that 28 pages was the whole CNN website. We see here 2005, it got inflated to almost 1,000. Let's see what we have today. Only 228 pages. My assumption is that that's due to dynamic content as opposed to page refreshes, but that's a whole different topic. So let's start at the beginning. 2000, I have it here. Okay, this is CNN, June 2000, August, sorry. What we see here is a mess. Research has shown again and again that people don't read online as they do in other media. They actually scan the page first, so the text has to be graphic. So they try to box in all different types of text, we have the navigation here that was very prominent around that time. Left-hand bar, very, very long. You really have to read through it to find what you want. Basically, nothing here says click me. Nothing jumps out. I really have to pay attention to actually read what's going on. Here we have CNN 2003. much more legible. There are distinct areas. We see here the list of links, again, very long. We see that there's big area for the headline. I'm not sure that the headline image and text actually work this way, because some people will actually read the caption and start going down here. There's a special event area, in this case the Shuttle Columbia tragedy, which also seems kind of different, similar yet different. The navigation is turned into buttons, which I have a bit of a problem with, because navigation is usually links and buttons are usually more action-based. So it does give prominence to the navigation, but I'm not sure this is the right affordance for buttons. Now let's jump quickly to today. Relaunch of the site, a recent relaunch of the site, and I think many of their problems, classic CNN, I think we saw example of what classic CNN site looked like, has changed dramatically. Let's start with the navigation. First of all, it doesn't interrupt the content. You look for the navigation, which is a different mental model. I'm looking for something. I'm not going to browse through the content. We have here a hybrid between a button and a link, which I think is the correct affordance for sections on a site, because they're constant. They're not just any old link. Here we see the hot topics. These are links because they're dynamic, they change, and I don't refer to them again and again. But if I'm a geek, I'll go back again and again to the text section. Now, what I really like about it is there are two main elements here that really pop out. First of all, the big image and the caption. It's very legible. It has its white space and it has its place of honor. On the other hand, we have the videos, and here we have all these controls that allow me to slide through them, and it's obviously not something I'm supposed to read. It's something I'm supposed to do, and they're very distinct, although they both say kind of choose me. Now let's look down here, and we see that the different modules on the page are very distinct yet similar. Why are they distinct? Because they have a lot of white space. I can read the title very easily. Markets versus local. They share the same language but have different have different ways of visualizing information. And just one last point. You see here these gray, I'm not sure you can see it, the gray backgrounds between the different modules. An interesting thing to think about when you put two elements next to each other is that you always create a third space in between them. That's the negative space. A lot of websites use borders. Borders create another visual element that makes it hard to read the content itself. Here we have something very subtle, very minimalist, that actually divides between the content without creating too much visual information that basically marks borders. So I think this redesign, I like it a lot. Okay then, that's about it. I'll post some links with relevant resources, and we can continue on the blog if you have any questions, or if you just want to say something. Just post it there and we can continue the discussion. So, bye.